Hello, Virgo. Thank you very much for tuning in to this week's read. For the main part of the read, I'm using the Star Tarot by Kathy McLeland. Website at the top here. Feel free to check that out if you want to. Freeze frame if you need to, of course. Supportive Oracle cards. Magical Spell cards by Lucy Cavendish. Illustrated by Jesse Reish. There's a website, hayhouse.com. This is a couple decades old, but Hay House is still out there. You might have to use a search engine to find the current website. Not sure if that one's still valid. I know there's a website for Hay House. I just don't know if that. I'm assuming it is, but who knows. What do we have for Virgo? Your side looks good. We like that. What's going on? What are you dealing with? That looks good too. That's good, right? We don't have a problem with that. There's a minor upset. You know, things aren't going to work perfectly. I feel like Virgo is very realistic. Like, oh, that went a little sideways. So is life. Do I like it? No. But am I surprised? No. So it's kind of like one of those things. Kind of like, oh, that went a little sideways. I don't like it, but it's life. Life happens. You seem to be kind of like, yeah. The trick is to not let it bother you too much. You know something is about to change. I feel like you know it. You got the World card here for you. You know something's about to change. A new phase is about to begin. I don't see you shocked with it. I don't see you upset about that. Even if it's like somebody passing, it's kind of like, well, I know it's coming. So it's kind of like you may be upset in the sense of like it's hard to let somebody pass. But on the other side, you're also kind of realistic about, I know this is coming. I don't know if that makes sense. Not like you're overjoyed about it, but it's kind of like I know this is coming, if that makes sense. So you've been preparing for it. Yeah, Two of Pentacles and the Moon card. I mean, this is a tarot reading, so let's just be fair. You might be more on the spiritual side for whatever's coming next. Kind of like, yeah, I know these things happen. It's kind of like, how do we explain this? When you're growing up, at some point you realize that people pass away. At some point. It's not about liking it. It's just about knowing it happens. And when I say the spiritual side of that, it's kind of like you can not like it as much as you want, but the world's still going to turn. Things are going to happen. Sun's going to go up. Sun's going to come down. It's kind of like, I feel like you're in a spot where you're just like, I know what reality is. And I don't try to change things that I don't really have the power to change. I try to accept it. Doesn't mean I have to like it, but I just try to deal with it the best I can and plan for it the best I can. There's a big change coming, and it's a weird energy when this change comes in. It's almost a little solemn, but it feels like I really don't have a choice in it. And maybe there's some things about this situation you really don't like, but you're like, I don't feel like I have a choice in that either. People react the way people react, and I have to just grin and bear it sometimes. You might not have to deal with as much of this as you think. Something about this too. There's a new phase coming in. How other people deal with it, it's almost like I feel a little bit responsible, like I have to deal with these people. I can deal with it my own way, and I can be at peace with it in my own way, but it doesn't mean other people are going to be, and if they're not, I just have to kind of grin and bear it and get through it with them. But there's something here about this flash energy that's not going to last very long. I don't. This change, you can show up late for the change. That's what I'm getting. You can show up late and you can leave early, and you can maneuver around that as you see fit. You don't have to be there and drag through the whole thing if you don't want to. You can show up late and you can leave early. And I'm kind of like, that's kind of weird, because like when I think of earth signs, I think of punctuality, I think of upholding responsibility. It's not normal, in my opinion, for an earth sign to kind of like cut it short like that. It just doesn't seem normal. But I also get, like, if you're planning to, like, you can plan to show up. Like, oh, it's starting at 4, maybe I'll show up at 4:30. It's going till 6, maybe I'll leave at 5:30. But you'll plan it that way, and you'll just kind of, like, do what you need to do so people understand. You don't have to drag through this whole situation, whatever it is. When the change is happening, it happens so fast. If you accept that that's your role, and if you make up your mind that that's what you're going to do, you can do this, and it doesn't have to be that hard for you while it's transitioning. I don't think if you shorten your window of exposure that that's going to cause anything bad. It's actually very good for you. I don't see anybody giving you a hard time about it. Give yourself a break. I hate to say this, but it's almost like you have permission to give yourself a break. It's kind of like you shouldn't be waiting for somebody to give you permission to give yourself a break, but some people need that, and they're like, here it is, your permission to give yourself a break. Give yourself a break. You have permission to give yourself a break. Not that you literally need to look for somebody's permission, but some people, it just makes them feel better to hear that. There you go. Permission to give yourself a break, and you can use it whenever you want, as many times as you want. Things are changing. I also feel like if you cut it short to your limit of your area of exposure, something is like, I feel like things still work out the same. If you make it easier on you, there's no damage. There's no damage. The best I can think of is kind of like, you know when your parents put you in a timeout chair, and they're like, you're going to have to sit in that chair for, half an hour. So you go sit in the chair, and then they go outside and they start mowing the lawn, or they do what they do. You could sit in that chair, or you can go get a toy or a book, and you can just do something while they're not looking and enjoy yourself. As long as they think you're in that chair, who cares? I don't know. I know that's a little sketchy, but maybe I was one of those kids who kind of like, well, if you're not looking and I can have a good time, maybe I'm gonna. If it's no difference to you, if you're not gonna know the difference and I want to do it, I think I'm gonna do it. I know Virgo has rules, but this is your life. You make your rules. That's how I've been in my life. My life, my rules. That's kind of how I've done it. So it may seem like that, like, oh, they said I had to sit in this chair for half an hour. I mean, if they're not keeping an eye on you every second, and I don't know, if you go get a book and you're still technically sitting in the chair, or you're getting your schoolwork, for example, and you're getting something done while you're sitting in that chair, you can make this work to your advantage. That's what they're giving this. You can make this work to your advantage. Let this transition work to your advantage. Don't feel bad about it. Shorten your area of exposure and get things done that you need done. Just do what you have to do to make this easier on you. It's not going to change anything. It doesn't slight anybody. That's why I'm using that timeout thing. If you get something, it's like your parents are like, you have to sit in that chair for half an hour, and they don't know what you're doing, but they think you sat there. If they don't know any different, it's not going to ruin their life. And you're going to realize, well, if they had been in the house, I would have had to have sat in that chair. So you kind of know. I don't know. I feel like you'll get the point. Because I'm getting, like, what they don't know doesn't hurt them. Because there's people still like you, and what they don't know don't hurt them. It doesn't hurt them. I know this sounds very shady, but to me it's, like, very minimally shady. It's not that bad. It's just kind of whatever this transition is, it seems like you deserve a break. It's kind of like other people might not see it. It's almost like if we're going to add into that same analogy where you got to sit in that chair for half an hour for what you did. And they don't know, like, whatever it was, they're blaming you for something you didn't do. But they're like, no, you did that. You're like, well, I didn't. It's kind of like that, too. Kind of like you're getting punished for something you don't deserve. I don't know. It's just an idea. Take it with a grain of salt. I know it sounds a little shady, but you got to decide what's right for you. The world is it's not black and white for one thing. And not only does it have shades of gray, but there's so many colors out there that it's going to drive you crazy. Do what you got to do. I'm just saying. Life is a lot more complicated than black and white. It just really is. I feel like the people who view life as black and white have the hardest lives. I really do, because it gets very, very burdensome. I really, really do. When this transition passes, like, we're going through it, right? You're going to go right into your normal spot. You're going to move forward like you need to. Nobody seems to be upset with you. Everything seems to go well. And you're going to end up where you're meant to be anyway. I feel like what they're saying is make the transition easy on you. There's no reason not to. There's this whole transition coming in, this whole new beginning. It seems to be for you and a few other people. Things are going to solidify. You're a very important part of this new situation. You're a very important part. Make it easy on yourself. Make it easy on yourself. You know what you can and can't get away with. Another analogy I'm going to use, what was it? When I was a kid, I was in grade school, and I get travel sickness, so I didn't want to go on this long trip. It was going to be a 5-hour bus ride one way, and it was, I think we were going out one day and coming back the next, but I didn't want to go. So my mother could have kept me home, but instead she sent me to school, and I basically, without actually have done something to get in trouble, I sat in detention for 2 days because I didn't go on this trip. The point is, she could have kept me home. I could have stayed home, I could have done things at home, I could have been fine at home. It's not like there was any reason I really had to go, but because she didn't want to break the rules, I ended up in detention because I didn't want to go on this trip. Don't put your kid in detention. Don't put yourself in detention. That's all I'm saying. You get the point? I hope this makes sense. Like, there's no... Whatever this is, don't do this to yourself where you end up, punishing yourself for something you don't need to be punished for. Again, like, I'm using this thing where there's this trip. For 2 days, I was in detention for no reason. I didn't do anything wrong. My mother just didn't want to break the rules. So that's where I look back at that and I'm just like, really, man. But, hindsight is 20/20. Before you end up putting yourself in detention for something you don't need to do, stay home. Even if you stay in the house, watch TV, enjoy your life. Give yourself permission to give yourself a break. It may be outside the rules a little bit, but don't feel bad about it. Make this as easy on you as you can. Again, I feel like I'm doing that thing again where I'm like, this is your permission to give yourself a break. If you need it, take it. And use it as many times as you want throughout your whole life. Are we good? All right, I'm going to shut this down here. Thank you for watching. I hope that helps. If you'd like a direct reading from me, shoot me an email, jamesforastral@gmail.com. That's James, the number 4, astral@gmail.com. If you're interested in the donation information, that's below, same email. Thank you again for watching, and have a great day.